Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Online Warriors podcast. I am your host, Techtic, and it's just going to be me today. So this week, even though it's just me, it is still a big week. We will keep coming at you with the news, but it is going to be a big episode. It is going to be entirely focused on the 2025 Gamescom event. We watched the full 2 hours and 30-minute special, so you don't have to. You're welcome, by the way. But before we get into that, I have a bit of confession to make because on the last week's episode, I mentioned fall's coming. Be sure to push out summer as much as you can. However, that said, we've kind of been in a bit of a cold front, so I caved and I've already started getting my pumpkin spice related things. So it got me kind of thinking, do you guys like all of the holiday themed beverages? Is it like, do you really just jive with pumpkin spice? Do you really jive with like peppermint bark? Where do you fall on that? And like, or do you just say, fuck that, I like coffee, I don't need the frills and jills? But I will say, for me, I'm just all in on pumpkin spice. I don't care about the other stuff. I think the other stuff sucks. Pumpkin spice rustles my jimmies. If I'm going to have like a peppermint bark, it's going to be like a homemade hot cocoa with some schnapps in it. And you can't start your day with schnapps. At least for what I do for a living, I can't start my day with schnapps. But pumpkin spice is my jam. Sorry I caved. I'm just super basic that way, and I had to do it. So, all that said, now let's get on to the show. I want to start by talking about the pre-show. It opened with Kyle Bossman, and before I even talk about any of the games that he talked about, he had an amazing dry humor. And I don't know if I'm just corny myself, but his like slight self-deprecating humor, it was just right up my alley, and it was just perfectly dry. His deliveries were just like really subtle, like he wasn't trying to make everyone laugh, but I was actually cracking up. And for a pre-show, it was kind of surprising to me. So shout out to you, Kyle. Great job. So now for the actual pre-show, I really want to just highlight 5 games that really caught my attention. The first one being Bubsy 4D. Bubsy 4D. This game is like a classic 3D platformer that's a sequel based on a game from almost 30 years ago. So just from the standpoint of nostalgia, this is just going to be a perfect gut punch to those vibes, and I'm here for it. The next one, and we've seen this one in other announcements, is Keeper. It's that game with the lighthouse, but we got to see a little bit more and feel what the game is about. So this game, as I said, is about a lighthouse that comes to life and is walking around on an island. However, this time around, we got additional details where it's shining a light on a dark force that's about the island. And on top of that, and this is the most important part, you get a little bird companion that's kind of an extension of your own lighthouse self. However, the bird's afraid of the dark, so you can really start to see how these two will complement each other in the gameplay, and that's really cool to me. It's going to have this puzzle, little cute companion side of it, and I think it's just going to play really well. So I'm very excited about this game, and surprisingly so, because it's a lighthouse game. I didn't know that it was going to get me interested, and it did. The next one I want to shout out is, and I apologize for the pronunciation, Denshattack. This is, no kidding, a parkour train game that really lets you leverage the environment in a very interesting way. And when I say a train game, I don't mean like you're training. I mean you are literally a locomotive type vehicle jumping from track to track, and even at one point onto a Ferris wheel. So anything that has 2 rails between it, it appears they've decided a way to jump onto it. So it really just kind of makes for this fast-paced vibe. Combined with the toon shading that they had, it just overall looks really fun to play. I'm here for it on that one. The next one, and this isn't really a huge announcement, it's more of an add-on, but here at the Online Warriors podcast, you know we have to shout it out. It is an addition to Sonic Racing Crossworlds. They have announced that Pac-Man will be joining the fray, and not only as a playable racer, but we will also have the ability to play as Pac-Man in some of the traditional Sonic levels. And like, I'm talking rolling through like the 2D side scroller. This looked fun, and it looked like a neat variation to what is the baseline Sonic games. And again, it's sort of that cross worlds mechanic. So all here for that. And then lastly, within the pre-show, I want to shout out Valor Mortis. This was a first-person action Souls-like from the creators of Ghost Runner. And we really enjoyed playing Ghost Runner. And it gave me hardcore BioShock vibes from both the perspectives as well as the elemental power-ups. It just looked very, very good. So that was the pre-show. And with that, we're going to go right into the main event. But before we discuss the games, I do want to make mention of the non-game related things first, because that's what was kind of beautiful about Gamescom. It was games related, but also tangential game related. And it really makes for just a great, this year they really knocked it out of the park. I was very happy with this show. So again, I apologize on the way I'm pronouncing this, but first and foremost, we're getting a Sekiro anime based on the Sekiro Shadows Die Twice video game. And now, while I've never played this game, the most exciting part of this was the anime style used. They really leveraged that 90s style. And if you go back and look at the level of detail in animes at this time, it was absolutely insane. If there was like a robot, you can catch the movement of the individual tiny gears on this robot moving and articulating. And the animators at this time were at a whole another level. And I'm really excited to see shows returning to this style, because in my opinion, and this is not nostalgia talking, that was peak anime. Was that 90s, I always like to circle back to like the Gundams. They were just doing it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about that is non-game related is we got a look at the Season 2 Fallout trailer. And the gang's headed to New Vegas. So it's going to be heavily based on the New Vegas game as far as characters we might see. But more importantly, as far as the gang goes, we're going to see even more of Cooper Howard's backstory, which, like, honestly, that was my favorite part of Season 1. Anything was Walton Goggins. I think he's hot, and like I love to watch him do his thing. We're also going to see Maximus continue to move through the ranks of the Brotherhood of Steel, which like it's an interesting development because that's what he really wanted, but now he's starting to like pull the curtain back and really be troubled with some of the stuff that they're doing. And so to see that character development, again, I'm very excited for this. And then lastly, Lucy's going to try to figure out what her dad's up to, and that's why she's going to New Vegas. This season just continues to look amazing, and it's going to keep pushing that momentum forward that Season 1 had, and I'm very excited for it. And then lastly, we got an absolutely beautiful performance of the Clair Obscure Expedition 33 song, which honestly, it was very good, but I remember previous Gamescom performances going on much longer. They were hyping it the entire show, and yet it was only like 2 minutes long. And I feel like it really should have gotten a lot more time. And when you consider how well received Expedition 33 was, I was expecting at least 3 songs, especially, like I said, with the hype that it was getting through the entire show. So that's all the non-game related Gamescom news. And now I hope you're ready for it. It's game time. So first and foremost, we have to talk about the very, very most important announcement, and that's Black Ops 7. As the current number one enemy of Activision for them banning my account, I am really mad with how good this looks. In the trailer, they focused on what should be the main point of a game, and that's the story. It opens on the year 2035. They show robots. They show combat drones. Overall, just really cool gear, but none of that is even what hooked me. There was a huge breadth of locations ranging from jungles to cities to even dreams. That's when I locked in. The story plot, like beyond that, is just they made a point to say that it's not good versus evil. It's more of like a quote, what kind of future are we building and who gets to decide? And I love when stories build around that gray area where no one's necessarily good or bad. It's just different ideologies. And that just makes for a really captivating story. And then after they've already got me hooked, they hit us with the, oh, by the way, this campaign is co-op and it's up to 4 people. Guys, you know how I feel about co-op. I am so unbelievably in. I'm going to get back on the phone with Activision, and I'm not giving up because I want to play this game so bad with Nerd Bomber. I'm all in on the stories. And then beyond the story mode, they're going to have additional modes, like obviously zombies, of course, but also there's going to be a PvE experience where players will get to explore Avalon and have sort of a combat playground. And I got to say, they just really brought it with this one. Hype City all the way around. So the next thing that was announced, and this one was kind of weird, considering how hyped it's been, it was very much in passing, which felt strange to me, but Hollownight Silksong will be launching in 2025. So overall, as a big fan of Metrovanias, I'm so happy that it's on the way and that people are going to get to play this game, because the Hollownight fan base is so amazing. And I'm just happy that they're getting a next installment. The next one is the Lego Batman game. So this is Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. This needs to be mentioned because I can see a lot of people saying, oh, another Lego game, who cares? But it is so important because not only will it have the regular character playability that we've grown to love in these Lego games, but it appears to have adopted the combat style from the Arkham games. And I think that's so important when adapting a game like the Batman franchise into a Lego game, is to pull that combat style that literally, in my opinion, is what made the games. That's what made the Arkham games so good. So pulling that in, giving players what I consider the real feel of what it's like to be a Batman is so important. And this game is going to do so good. And then on top of that, you're going to get the choice from all the different Batmobiles. Ugh. And it's going through like from Bruce Wayne all the way to him fully becoming the Dark Knight. And I'm in on this one. This one looks fantastic. Way to go, Lego. Next is Demon X Machina. This looks like everything I want it to be. It's giving Gundam fire combined with big, beautiful bosses, and it'll be available as soon as September 5th. Like, every time we see a Gundam adjacent game, I always get really, really excited about it because it's very clean combat. You're in a robot suit. I tried the Iron Man VR game and it didn't hit right. I personally think all of those games are better in handheld, but this looks just really, really good. So very excited about this one. The next one, Voidbreaker. This is a fast-paced roguelite first-person shooter. It was developed by a solo developer, so shout out to Daniel Stubbington. Sorry again for the pronunciation. And the absolute main thing that needs to be mentioned about this game is the weapon customization. If you like gun combinations, you are going to be, in a good way, completely overwhelmed with the amount of player options that you have. And then combine that with like the neon vibes of the levels. This game just looked very, very cool. Now that I've absolutely saturated you guys in positive vibes, I'm gonna throw a negative out there. Deadpool VR. I want to start by saying I was a huge Deadpool fan before he was cool, like before he was mainstream with all the movies. When the Deadpool game came out for the Xbox 360, it was a day one buy for me. That game, the Deadpool 360 game, they not only nailed the voice acting for Deadpool, but they also included his inner monologue so that he had additional voices that were separate from the main voice actor. And that really made for like the insanity in Deadpool's head. In Deadpool VR, I only heard the voice of John Leguizamo, which is like, it's fine. But one, it sounded a little bit off. I don't know if it's just because he's just forever Sid in my brain, but it seemed like they're just going to go all in on the goofy, and I really want batshit crazy Deadpool. That's what I think makes for an entertaining game. I'm still going to give this game a try because, like I said, I'm a huge Deadpool fan, but I'm just so nervous that it's just going to be campy and kind of annoying. I do like what Ryan Reynolds did with the character, but I still don't think that comic book insanity is there. Like, part of the Deadpool lore is that Deadpool was Venom's first victim, and he was like, nah, fuck that. This guy's too crazy. Venom Like the symbiote said, this guy's too crazy. That's how crazy Deadpool is. And I want to be seeing that in more media personally. So with that said, we're now going to take a quick break so I can freshen up for all of you. But before we head into the break, I would be remiss if I did not shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Steven Keller. Steven was on the show last week, so make sure to check out that episode if you haven't already. Steven gets that guest spot as a result of being a super cool subscriber at our night level. He also gets access to our monthly secret segment and video vlog, and he gets topic voting rights. If you want to be as cool as Steven, head over to patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast, where you'll find 3 different subscription tiers that help us keep the lights on here at the Online Warriors Central. And now, let's get into our break.
Online Warrior podcast listeners, I want to take a few seconds of your time just to promote Xbox Tavern's podcast. It's an Xbox-centric podcast with news, reviews, as well as the 5 of us talking about all things Xbox. We're from the UK, would love to get in your ears. Search Xbox Tavern on your best podcast app. And you can also head over to xboxtavern.com, where we've got our latest reviews as well as some opinion pieces. Go check it out. Now, back to the show.
And we're back, and we have a lot more games to talk about. So, with that, we will roll right into the next one, which is John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. This looks great. No notes. It's Left 4 Dead with today's graphics. It's a buddy team-up shooter to take on hordes of zombie demons with upgraded soldiers. There's nothing bad to say about this type of games. Just, it's a classic sleepover fun. Like, you can't go wrong here. All right. Now this next one, Death by Scrolling. This game did not personally sell me. However, it was very Nerd Bomber coded. So, as her official stand-in, I want to mention this game because I think when she's listening to this episode, she's going to go, wow, that game sounds really cool. I think I want to play that game. So the art style is really reminiscent of the Game Boy Advanced. The plot of this game is that you're stuck in purgatory and you're trying to escape death herself. The screen is constantly scrolling and you need to maneuver while collecting coins to pay the ferrymen 10,000 coins. And then they will ferry you back to Earth and you will survive. Done. It's a roguelite, so there's going to be a lot of repetition, and I could see it just being very addictive. And it almost is one of those games where you can just, if you got like 20 minutes and you want to kill some time, you pick it up, you play around, you put it down, and that's it. And I love these kind of games. The world has a place for these kind of games, and it's on her Xbox for Nerd Bomber to play, and she's going to have so much fun. Speaking of games that are absolutely necessary in this world, Deltaforce. This needs mentioning from a standpoint of why games like Counter-Strike are so important. All free-to-play shooters these days seem to become battle royale, and we need more standalone Team A versus Team B shooters because the battle royale is just, there's so many of them, and these just standard, huge layout shooters, free-to-play, it just scratches an itch for me. That is absolutely necessary. Like I said, the Counter-Strikes of the world are so core in most people's foundation, at least those that have played on PC, that these games need to keep being made. So Deltaforce, shout out to you. You're doing it. With that said, we also got to look at another battle royale game, Time Takers. This, I want to say, could be interesting if they step away from what very much feels like Fortnite vibes. The gist is they got challengers from history to compete and then not die in their own time. So like they were taken right at the moment of their death. So basically giving them a second chance. But since Fortnite already has characters from just about everywhere, it really needs something to kind of stand out on its own. Maybe there's something that they can do leveraging the time jump phenomena to really make it be its own thing. And I hope they find that thing because it is a really cool concept. There is something there. I just, with all of these battle royale games, I don't know that this is going to stand out and be able to like stand the test of time and not just fade into obscurity. So after that, we got introduced to Mark from the head of sequels, who showed us the Outerworlds 2 trailer. In this trailer, we got to take a look at the personnel you'll have the ability to play with, and they made sure to let you know that you can't have sex with any of them. So sorry about that. However, if you're a big Outerworlds fan, this is coming very soon. This will be available October 29th, so get hyped. I just love Outerworlds for the comedy alone. This is exciting. Now, the next one, Fate Trigger. I want to gush so aggressively hard about this trailer. The combat in the trailer was so damn clean. I really wish it had some gameplay so that it's not just like this epic trailer. But if that gameplay is anything like that trailer was, this is a day one buy for you. There was like various play styles and characters that all bring something different to the table. The art looked really, really cool with it, like the wolf transformation. That was just badass. I really hope this comes through on the gameplay because, like I said, day one buy if it does. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This was another one of those like what's not to like type games. You play as a vampire with both super strength, telekinetic abilities, a couple other powers, and like seeing the trailer just made me want to buy Bloodlines 1. So it's a little bit overwhelming to be ready for when this comes out because it's coming out October 21st. But this was just a really well put together trailer. Now, I do want to take a small moment to ask the listeners, because there seem to be a lot of like tank themed games. Are tanks cool / fun? Like in real combat, I've always kind of seen them as more stationary and slow moving, kind of like a mobile turret. Like you don't want to be just going in with your tank because your tanks are slow and there's anti-tank missiles and things like that. Like I don't understand how tanks are cool. I always thought they were boring and slow, but if they're cool now, apparently they're cool enough to drop multiple tank games. I just wanted to say that I'm very curious about where this tank hype is coming from. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to ask that question to the listeners. Someone please shout me out on the social media explain to me why tanks are cool. I think they're slow and boring. Come at me, bro. So, speaking of war, World of Warcraft Midnight absolutely ate with this trailer. There's the void or darkness that's taking over, and in like a last prayer, the elves beg for help from the Sunwell, and when it seemed that all hope was lost, the brightness shines through. And I do not care if you have never played a World of Warcraft game. I guarantee you, if you watch this trailer, you were absolutely captivated. They just really put together a cinematic masterpiece with this one. 10 out of 10. Now, I just want to let you guys know, we are hitting the home stretch on this episode, or at least on the amount of games. There's only a few left. But come February 27th, 2026, Resident Evil fans, get hyped because you will be able to play Resident Evil Requiem. In this trailer, they really nailed the shitty teenage daughter vibes. And what's really interesting to me is it appears the story will be from her point of view. But with an opening like that, I struggled to see how, one, she's going to have the courage to figure things out, and two, how players will think that their player is likable. Like, I don't know, me personally, I want to be rooting for my character, and if my character is unlikable, I'm just like, oh, I'm not enjoying this as much. So I struggle with that one. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope this is well received, because Resident Evil is, again, one of those really deep lore franchises that are absolutely fascinating. But this was a weird trailer. So lastly, and finally, we got to see the next installment in the Black Myth franchise. Zhong is who it is going to be based around. You will play as a ghost-catching god who is wandering between hell and earth. And I just love that they're sort of jumping from different lore to different lore instead of keeping the story around Wukong. I think, one, it's educational, and two, it's really, really cool. It's kind of, you're getting a wide breadth of these stories. as opposed to just milking one thing until it's absolutely dried. And I'm just 100% on board with this, with the way that the Black Myth franchise is going and this game in general. 10 out of 10. Very excited. And now for what are you up to Wednesday? What I've been up to is a couple of different things. First and foremost, I have submitted my game jam. I will happily share it in the vlog this month. It was nerve-wracking. I learned a lot. My number one lessons learned is it doesn't matter how good your game is when your game jam is up. Please play test the build file before uploading it. I did not. And it turns out that I had none of my scenes. For those of you familiar with Unity, when you build your file, you need to make sure the scenes that are your game is in the build settings, and I had it blank. And so it was just a blue screen that I uploaded. So unfortunately, I didn't get credit for the game jam. I still did the activity, and it was a great learning experience. But the biggest lesson learned is play your game before you upload it. I couldn't stress that enough, because you don't know what you screwed up. And sometimes even in running it on in Unity, sometimes it works there, then the build file just sucked or whatever. So that was a huge lessons learned there. But I've since uploaded the right one, and people looked at it and gave me feedback. Still always great lessons. And what's really cool about game jams is instead of having like a 3-year game development cycle, then getting feedback, and like there's a chance that even in the 24-hour, 48-hour game dev, there's a lot of like approaches to solving the problem that you would have still used on your three-year development cycle, but you learn those feedbacks sooner. So I 10 out of 10 can't recommend doing game jams enough. It's a great community. There's a ton of them out there. Just do them. I can't recommend them enough. And then the other thing was with both Illegal and Nerd Bomber, I did a fantasy draft. It is now approaching football season, and so we're doing it. I think I did okay. I opened with Saquon Barkley, which is always a solid running back choice. I was third pick though, so I kind of had that ability afforded to me. If you're like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, I'm very interested to see what you guys do. I have other fantasies that like drafts that haven't happened yet, and I'm 8th pick. I don't know what I'm going to do, because how can you plan for that? By the time picks 1 through 7 are done, anything that you plan for likely got picked up. So it's always fun. It's always stressful. I do still recommend doing fantasy because it makes me find football more interesting. I think as a baseline, and I guess I take off my American shirt or whatever, but I think football is kind of boring. There's a lot of play, then stand around, then stand around, then play, then stand around. And so if you're like just interested in it, generally you're following just your local team, and that's even more boring. Whereas now you're like in between plays, you're looking up stats of other games, and it overall makes it more engaging. So I would recommend anyone do fantasy. And if you're like a little nervous of like doing bad picks and then being penalized for a whole season, there's other things like daily fantasy where every week it's a new roster, so it's a lot more forgiving. So if you have never done fantasy, check one of those options out. You can even do daily fantasy with like a generic pool of people online through like Yahoo, so you don't even need to find friends to do it. Just do it. It's gambling. Gambling's fun. You can't go wrong with gambling. So I hope alone I put on a good show for you guys. That's about all I have to yabber about. And reach out to me on the social medias at techtic.bsky.social, and let's talk about some of the things I talked about. In the meantime, stay safe and keep on podcasting.